Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you are all having an incredible day. To start things off, the operator of Binance's upcoming US crypto exchange known as BAM Trading Services has hired a former Ripple executive as its CEO. BAM announced on Tuesday it had appointed Catherine Coley as CEO, who will be responsible for rolling out Binance US as well as expanding the exchange's marketplace in North America. Prior to joining the firm, Coley was the head of XRP institutional liquidity at San Francisco-based distributed ledger tech startup Ripple, BAM said in the announcement. Before entering the blockchain and crypto space, Coley worked for banking giant Morgan Stanley in Hong Kong and London in the institutional foreign exchange market and handled international payments and global treasury management for startups while at Silicon Valley Bank. Changpeng Zhao, founder and CEO of Binance, said in the announcement, "I'm confident that with Corey's leadership and Binance's leading technology platform, Binance.us will be able to provide valuable services to the United States community. This is just the beginning of a long road ahead," etc., etc. So the major takeaway is here from what I've been seeing around the crypto sphere and on the Twitter space, Twitter block, is that, so the takeaways are Binance apparently is gearing up to launch their US cryptocurrency exchange. People were asking me before why they were making a US one. It mainly pertains to people within the United States. What happens is, or what has been happening was, that the people from Binance were pretty much told by US regulators, hey, can't be here, you have to be, registered so-and-so, you have to fall under our rules. The people from Binance were like, no, that's okay. So they packed up their computers and they pretty much moved to different parts of Europe and Asia. And now, because there's money to be made in America, it appears that what Changpeng Zhao said, the CEO of Binance, that he's going to stop the usage of Binance.com for people within the US, but he's going to create a separate website called Binance US, which is probably going to have a lot fewer coins, but it will be a US regulated website, so people within the US will still be able to use Binance, but it'll just simply be called Binance US. And the second part is the acquisition of this woman right here for the Binance team for Binance US, and as she was the former head of XRP institutional liquidity at Ripple. The idea is that a couple of months ago, we had news from Changpeng Zhao that they did plan on partnering with Ripple and were planning on integrating XRapid. So if you tie it together, as this was in February of this year, and as we now are July, it appears, like I said, this is according to the Twitter sphere and the wider cryptocurrency space, that this could be the beginning of Binance announcing that they're going to be utilizing XRapid for their payments on their website. No one knows exactly if that's going to happen. This is obviously more of a just a pre-discussion, if you will. But what's been happening, for those who, I'm sure a lot of the people who are into Ripple and XRP have been paying attention. A lot of the people who used to work for Ripple and XRP, I've noticed that it kind of makes the news sometimes, and it's like, well, Ripple lost another person. But what ends up happening is that these people actually continue on to another company and simply do almost the same exact thing that they were doing before, which is pretty much promoting Ripple and XRP or getting other companies to use it. Kind of fascinating if you really look at it that way. But yeah, this was the major news for about a day and some change. And yeah, let's move on. Next up, apart from Bitcoin miners preferring Iceland due to its cold weather, the country is making headlines in other fronts closely related to blockchain technology. The company's financial watchdog, the FME, the Financial Supervisory Authority, has legalized the use of cryptocurrency in payments. Iceland's Financial Supervisory Authority has announced its first ever crypto institution known as Moratorium, which is based in Reykjavik. But being able to issue electronic money using blockchain technology, the institution was recognized as a company that can conduct business in compliance with the first electronic money regulation in Europe. With an FME approval, Moratorium will be able to offer services across Europe in the European Economic Area. The consent, is a breakthrough considering that earlier electronic money was not approved for transmission using blockchain technology. And then there's a little talk about the approval of it. Here's the actual website right here. very, I don't want to say boring website. It just looks like many other websites of its kind. The most important takeaway is that if you can go through over here, see exactly what it's used for. They talk about what is e-money, the use cases for it, collateral, settlement, payment, FX, etc., etc. They have a little blog. You can see right here that they're actually mixed up in some way with consensus. And if you go down a little bit further, they're apparently, it says, open or permission, it does not matter. We are blockchain agnostic. It says, let's partner up, meaning you can click on this to also partner up with them as well. But it appears that their partners who they already are partnered up with are Ethereum, Corda, Hyperledger, Liquid, and also Stellar. Very fascinating. I mean, I'm sure it goes a lot deeper. I'm not going to waste the time to see exactly how deep that it goes, because a lot of that would simply just be a lot of a speculation on my part. But I think the fact that there are major names like this, and the fact that we keep seeing major names, whenever we end up getting indications or information that a country or a bank or an institution is looking to use blockchain technology and or use cryptocurrencies as a method of payment, of storage, writing things on top of, we typically hear about a good 80% of the time Corda and Hyperledger are usually the two names that are kind of thrown in. Ethereum is also, like I said before, pay attention that Ethereum is usually always in the mix as well. Regardless of how slow the current blockchain is right now, they still have hundreds of partners behind them who are going to be using their blockchain. Liquid you don't hear about quite as often. It's a Bitcoin side chain, usually utilized by cryptocurrency exchanges, and I think you can have like private transactions on top of this as well. And Stellar, you normally don't hear as often as you would Corda and Hyperledger, but Stellar is usually sometimes there. Very fascinating that they have partnered with these exact things, which means that more or less the regulated financial e-money thing that's going on within Iceland has had discussions with these major cryptocurrency companies. Quite fascinating indeed. Let's move on. There we go. Next up, 2 European companies have launched what they describe as the world's first genuine Bitcoin bond. They confirmed in a joint press release on the 3rd of July. Luxembourg-based Argento, a securitization firm, joined forces with London Block Exchange, LBX, to issue the Bitcoin-denominated bond, which is regulated under the United Kingdom's regulator known as the Financial Conduct Authority, or the FCA. They said, we are thrilled to have structured and produced the world's first institutional-grade Bitcoin-denominated financial product. This was said by the manager. They said, the large investment banks really dropped the ball on this one. The Argento LBX bond represents a first in regulated cryptocurrency products, and that it contains no fiat exposure for investors, meaning it is probably pure Bitcoin. It is readily available via Bloomberg Terminal and is the first crypto product to have its own ISIN code. Various durations are available. Argento conspicuously named them after, oh gosh, they named them FOMO, HODL, and Moon, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Hodlers, LBX says, form one of the bond's major target markets. This is an excellent product for people who currently hold Bitcoin and aren't planning to sell over the next few years. Now, for the first time, they have an institutional grade way of making their wallets grow without exposing their Bitcoin to the swings of the traditional fiat currency markets. I don't know if anyone got that joke. It's usually the other way around. People say that we denominate things in fiat to get away from the swings of crypto. So the fact that they said it's in Bitcoin to get away from the swings of fiat is kind of funny. Anyway, the point is, this is absolutely incredible. I wish that news like this made more headlines. I wish that news like this actually made it onto CNBC and Fox News and ABC and all these other channels to talk about the actual movements of the cryptocurrency market. But of course they're not, because I have my own reasons as to why I believe they don't do these things. But the point is, this is absolutely incredible that we apparently, according to this, have a bond within Europe that is denominated completely in Bitcoin with no fiat exposure as well, which is incredibly exciting, which also then leads me once again to the same discussion we were having before about things just being denominated eventually in Satoshis. If everything is denominated in Satoshis, then you have no real reason to denominate anything in fiat currencies anymore. And then when we stop using fiat currencies and we simply use digital currencies, everything will then, my opinion and many other opinions out there, things will simply be denominated according to the Satoshi value of things. Anyway, very fascinating. I wonder if this has tied even like a slight thin thread into the other three countries who were talking about having Bitcoin bonds because they felt that Bitcoin was more stable than their own fiat currencies. This is the conversation that we've had 38,000 times as far as the conversation that if you don't understand how significant it is that three countries came to the International Monetary Fund and they were like, hey, our currency's crap. We're going to list Bitcoin bonds. So I wonder if this was some type of a correlation between them, if they needed some type of a clearinghouse or a London exchange to kind of get things going so that they were not only the only ones to be able to have access to this bond, but also other people around the world. Either way, it's incredibly fascinating. This is going to, whenever things like this end up popping up, we typically have other companies also denominating other things like this as well. This is kind of how you get the ball rolling very rapidly, because once someone releases something, it catches the eye of many other people. But the moment that people at the end of a quarter or the end of a year start releasing their reports as to how much money they made from these things, everyone goes, well, we can kind of add one as well. But it's never usually like one other company who's doing it. It's around 156 other ones spread across the world who end up doing the same exact thing. And this is kind of how you get the ball rolling. And this is how you get more people to learn about Bitcoin, to buy up more Bitcoin. And then as the prices continue to go higher, these institutions also then, say it with me, also buy more Bitcoin. Absolutely insane. Love it. Let's move on. Next up, Kraken CEO, his name is Jesse Powell, is dismissing fear, uncertainty, and doubt on whether the stablecoin company known as Tether is printing Tether to boost the price of Bitcoin. In a new interview with TD Ameritrade Network, Powell says his crypto exchange is seeing huge amounts of fiat currency coming in this year, which correlates to the increasing supply of Tether. He said, and I do quote, "I don't have inside knowledge of what's happening at Tether, but I can tell you that historically, when you've seen growth in the supply of Tether, we've seen growth in the supply of US dollars coming into Kraken, and other exchanges would report the same. So I think what you're seeing in Tether is just a very transparent reflection of what is being at the banking level with all exchanges. When new Tether is being printed, 99% of the time, tons of US dollars are coming onto the exchange as well. And it's not just being represented as Tether on the blockchain. Recently, we've had massive inflows of fiat currency, so I believe that the Tether prints are a result of new fiat coming in. I don't think Tether is actually a small part of the total fiat supply among all exchanges, so I don't think Tether is doing that alone. Without reading the rest of it, the point that he's trying to make is, for those who don't know, we had a situation in 2017 where there's a company known as Tether who makes stablecoins. The stablecoin that they make is called USDT, and it is pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar. Whenever people were looking at, in 2018, people were looking at the charts from 2017 to see the correlation, why Bitcoin went up so high, why was the price going so insane, how much money was being put into the market, and we found out that allegedly every single time that the company Tether was printing USDT, which is their stablecoin, we saw the price of Bitcoin going up. But it happened every single time. It happened about a good 6-7 times. And the idea was, so saith the internet, that the people from Tether were allegedly printing USDT as it is pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar and buying up massive amounts of Bitcoin. And when you buy up massive amounts of Bitcoin, what happens to the price of Bitcoin? The Bitcoin price goes up. So over the last couple of weeks, I believe the people from Tether finally managed to raise, I think, $1 billion. Was it that number? From their, no, I think it was like 700 or 800 million from an ICO that I believe that they were having. No, the people from Bitfinex were doing it for the Leo token. And I think the Leo token and Bitfinex are also closely tied to Tether. So this money was able to be repaid to their creditors, debtors, people who they owed money to. And therefore, this was why people believe that because they had this extra influx of cash that they were able to then make more Tether. And when you print more Tether, the price of Bitcoin goes up, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks. So on both sides of the spectrum, I've seen people, whether it be in the comment section, on Twitter, on Reddit, on blah, 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 people saying that they believed that it was that Bitcoin's price rising over the last couple of weeks was a result of more Tether being printed. It doesn't really seem to be that way, because we have had massive fluctuations down and then kind of back up, even when new Tether wasn't kind of being printed. It seems that, according to many other people, that the institutional investors, or even 50-50 right now as far as retail investors, I say everyday normal people, are also buying up large amounts of Bitcoin in unison. That is to say, small pieces eventually make up large pieces, and that also affects the market. and other people think that it is actually Tether moving the price of Bitcoin. I don't really think so. It kind of depends on how you want to look at it. I've noticed, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have as well, the last couple of months have been very interesting because there was a lot of drama surrounding Tether in 2018, the entirety of 2018, as far as what they did and what happened to the price of Bitcoin. And over the last couple of months, I've seen a lot of people kind of coming out in support of them. It's a little weird, not even just the people from Kraken, but also other people in general. Bloomberg articles talking about how great Tether is and how it's great for the community and how it's great for so-and-so and how they were marred with controversial issues before in the past, but they've cleaned up their act. And I'm like, well, it's been about 2.5 months. It hasn't really been that long for them to really clean up their act. And this is why the people from Tether also, you may have remembered, in 2018 came forward and finally told everyone that they didn't have an equal amount of US dollars to back up their printing of Tether, but apparently they had other assets that were able to back up the value of Tether that they were printing every single year. So it kind of is what it is. I don't think that Tether printed enough Tether to be able to get Bitcoin to go up by 400%. I feel like there's definitely a lot more other things finally in play in the cryptocurrency space, but it kind of is what it is. I'm pretty sure we'll get the real truth in about 5 years from now. But as of right now, this is what we know and this is what is happening, and let's move on. Next up, a group of North American privacy and consumer watchdogs are asking the US Congress to halt Facebook's Libra project. In a letter posted by Public Citizen, the group details a list of issues they have with Facebook's cryptocurrency. The move, The more than 30 signers include the Center for Digital Democracy, Consumer Reports, and the Service Employees International Union. They said, we call on Congress and regulators to impose a moratorium on Facebook's Libra and related plans until the profound questions raised by the proposal are addressed. They wrote, echoing similar demands by House Financial Services Committee Chair Maxine Waters. Her panel and its Senate counterpart are scheduled to hold hearings on Libra this month. Wow, oh my gosh, time flies. I forgot about that. Primarily liberal-leaning, these groups are concerned with the effect Libra will have on the world economy, especially on the lives of the unbanked. The signers are also concerned with the currency's governance and its effect on national sovereignty, asking questions like what impact might Libra have on monetary policies in smaller developing countries. It says the questions, though thorough, suggest the writers are unaware of the extent to which cryptocurrency businesses already comply with KYC and anti-money laundering regulations. Here's the actual thing right here. It says Congress and regulators should impose a moratorium on Facebook's Libra. Risks posed by Facebook's proposal are too great to allow the plan to proceed. Depending on where you look around for information or news about the Libra Foundation, Calibra, Facebook Libra cryptocurrency coin project, people are very torn. And I don't mean torn as far as like, oh, this is going to be great. A lot of people do think that the advent of Facebook creating a cryptocurrency or a coin or a token could potentially be great for the cryptocurrency space, as it could then push people further to Bitcoin, or simply have them have a better understanding as to what Bitcoin is in the future and other cryptocurrencies. But on the other side, we have a lot of people, and this is happening every single day now, who are trying to fight back against what Facebook is doing. When I read around, when I look around, it is fairly, at least at the time of me making this video, clear that Facebook's coin is definitely going to launch. It may not launch everywhere, but I feel like, and this is just my opinion on the entire situation, a lot of this has been for show. I feel like a lot of the people who are talking about, hey, we need to stop this, not necessarily this group. It kind of is what it is. I think that there are people who are legitimately afraid of what Facebook is trying to do, but I think a large part of it has to do with, we've seen this happen before in life. If you've ever read history books, there are usually people who scream very loud and say, we need to stop this, we need to protest, but they usually have put money on both sides to just have a very safe bet. You know, if you survive, I was always by your side. If you over here survive, dude, I was always with you from the beginning. there's a lot of money flowing around this. I think if this was actually a very big problem, I think we would have seen this already halted, and I mean that like immediately. I think what's going to end up happening is that people will realize that they can't stop Facebook's initiative from trying to launch their own coin, which is not a real cryptocurrency. It's pretty much just a PayPal 7.0 that is going to have a messaging system, which is pretty much Facebook's Messenger attached to it. But a lot of this because it's a little bit too much now that all these governments are kind of like ripping their shirts apart and screaming in public, and this has to be stopped. What usually ends up happening is, like I said, a lot of these people across the world are probably either already into this, or they're trying to look for ways to actually contact Facebook to say, hey, how can I be a part of this? Can we run a node as well? Because we realize that this is probably going to be very big. And this also ties directly into the last thing. U.S. lawmakers are formally calling on Facebook to cease all developments of its Libra cryptocurrency in a new letter sent to executives at the social media giant. Democrats from the U.S. House of Representatives wrote an open letter to Facebook on Tuesday, calling on a moratorium to all Libra development, while the Financial Services Committee and affiliated subcommittees hold hearings to determine how it would operate and what protections would be implemented to protect user privacy. And then it has a whole bunch of names. I'm not reading out all that stuff. And it's the letter to Zuckerberg. Waters has repeatedly called on Facebook to pause development of Libra, though it is the first time she has done so, part of a formal letter to the company. The letter described concerns what Facebook track record, as well as the potential for Libra to act as a new global currency. It says it appears that these products may lend themselves to an entirely new global financial system, which they are going to, that is based out of Switzerland and intended to rival U.S. monetary policy and the U.S. dollar. This raises serious privacy, trading, national security, and monetary policy concerns for not only Facebook, over 2 billion users, but also for investors, consumers, and the broader global economy. Not reading anymore. This is mainly all a lie. This has nothing. This is my opinion. This is how I feel. The main part that I keep hearing, and I'm pretty sure that it is I don't want to say false flag, red flag. It's something with a flag. Someone's waving a flag somewhere in the air. I don't know what color it is. Everyone keeps saying, the people who are calling for the end of this Facebook thing usually keep on saying for user protection, for the investors, for the consumers, for the 2 billion people, we have to protect them. No, they said it. Where is it? Right around here. It's something that's going to be based out of Switzerland, which while the U.S. does not have complete control over what's happening in Switzerland, the U.S. does have an accord with Switzerland to be able to access people's Swiss bank accounts. Believe me, I've looked into all of this as well. So a lot of things that are too far outreaching of the United States scares the United States. And what's happening is that because this is all happening on purpose, the way that they have set up Libra and the Facebook subsidiaries in Calibra and other countries and have based it on other currencies as well and other assets, not just the US dollar. This was all done on purpose to make sure that should someone try to stab you with a knife from one direction, you can go into a completely other direction and be completely safe because you are not hedging your bets, but like you're finding a way to protect yourself. This is Bitcoin already stands as a rival to the US dollar. In the future, as Bitcoin becomes stronger and better and continues to become better than the US dollar and many other fiat currencies, we're going to see Bitcoin take on a world of its own where other monetary policies are going to be dictated on the basis of Bitcoin. What the other world leaders were not preparing themselves for was the actual advent of another major company. Like it's kind of the same exact thing if Amazon had been like, hey, we're also going to launch a coin, but we're trying to, every single person who has ever used Amazon is going to receive some of the coin for free, and you can use it on our platform. It's kind of the exact same thing. The whole thing is that for years, and I mean years, you could have read stuff or found stuff people talking about the end of the US dollar, the end of the US monarchy, whatever people fancy words they decided to string together to make a sentence. And this looks like this might be the beginning of it, simply because there are too many other things happening very rapidly around the world that are, whether it be other countries trying to make other banking policies and banks in general that aren't using the US dollar as their reserve currency, or you have Bitcoin, or you have the Facebook thing, or just other digitization of securities and assets that are not being denominated or even being allowed to touch the US dollar. This is going to happen at a very rapid pace, and this is why I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of the people who are calling for the end of this, not saying this even Maxine Waters or anyone else, not saying that it's them, but I think a lot of people knew that this was coming. They saw this coming. And in order to save face in public, they have to go, oh my gosh, this is terrible, guys. What are we going to do? While they're still helping Facebook or making sure that they also have or are part of this new world system. The other part of it is I think that it actually is terrifying a lot of people in different countries around the world. Not to say that it is an age thing, but I think it has to do with people who've been in power for a very long time. They probably are older in age, and they're very stuck in their ways, and they didn't think or didn't see that things like this were kind of going to take place. Facebook has been in the news every single day. It's completely unavoidable. It's impossible to not talk about Facebook every single day simply because of, like, if it had just been like one thing when they, like, after they announced it, we're like, okay, whatever, fine. But every single day there are multiple countries coming forward trying to make moratoriums, freeze the project, talking about it's banned here, we're not going to touch it, you can't even come into our country. So I'm interested to see the exact extent of how far this is going to go. We still have, what is it? July, August, September, October, November, December, January. What is it? 5, 6, 7 months, somewhere around there before Libra is supposed to launch. They say 2020, but they haven't given a proper time frame, I assume, is because of all the backlash. They're going to launch. And it's a matter of how governments are going to react to this, if they can even react at all, and exactly what the future of other fiat currencies are going to be like. Because, I mean, it's, yeah, between people talking about that the stock market is going to go down relatively soon. There was something on CNBC. There was also a podcast from the Wall Street Journal, and it was about the normally whenever we see the stock market going up, there's like a sense of euphoria that rushes through the traditional financial community. But they're talking about that as the prices have been going up in the stock market, because we've been in a 10-year bull market in the normal traditional financial system, that people are kind of anticipating like a fall any day now. So it's this very weird space that we're floating in, as far as like Facebook launching their own coin that's going to have 2.7 billion users across multiple platforms, which is more than any central bank around the world has. Bitcoin becoming stronger, the world financial system potentially collapsing. The world is in trillions of dollars in debt. That's not going to happen anytime soon. There are all these tariffs and sanctions, and all these things are slowly building a better world for Bitcoin, but the getting there is going to be very crumbly. Rocky road, not as ice cream. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy for us to get there. I think I'm hungry talking about ice cream. Anyway, as always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Kyle Chassé, Auspicious Agile and Blockchain, Professor Wally from Gunbot University, My Keto Kitchen, Adobo, Crypto and Beer Shipmate, Brady Niels, L. Doug, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, Crypto Joe, Mohair Maroney, Carl Birchenoff, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Rai Rai, Yasha Harari, Amy Starsheen, Jeffrey Ramsey, Clara T. Snowden, Crypto Artist, Goldie 3D, Nicholas 1 One Piece, One Love, Setsuna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Rich III, Arv Dusty, Cody, Vlad the Impaler, Paxis, Tom Sucks at Basketball, and Sam Skips Leg Day, Jeremy the Photographer, Jim Gardner, Minting Coins, Arthur Yako, Nick Mangialavori, Anthony Charles, and Mick Canick. Thank you all very much for your support. At the moment, the market is kind of weird. Bitcoin is in the green, currently up 3.7%, sitting at around 11,693 US dollars, depending on the second that you're looking at it, because it's always fluctuating. The other coins look like they're trying to go up, but there's like a little dip for nearly every single other altcoin except for Binance Coin. Who knows? Binance Coin is an anomaly. But the Satoshi prices are still going down, which means people are selling off their altcoins to push into Bitcoin. But there doesn't seem to be really any major momentum at the moment amongst many altcoins. Tezos is up. So is Crypto.com, Chain Token. These things are also never in the news. Dogecoin is also up by 10%. So a lot of things usually don't tend to make sense. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. Very interesting times every day is interesting in crypto. There hasn't been like one boring day. There's always something really weird and dramatic that's happening in the cryptocurrency space. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.